I'm Brad Rue, for all of you guys listening, business owner of Action Financial Strategies, and we are interviewing our clients on their small business story. And today we have the fortunate opportunity of interviewing a good friend of mine, Nick Vance, owner of Fox Cities Embroidery. Welcome, Nick.
Thanks. Yeah.
So, Nick, give me a little bit of background on what it is you guys do here at Fox Cities Embroidery.
It's Fox Cities Embroidery. We do basically all things customization, a lot of apparel. We work a lot with schools, sports teams, and very closely with a lot of businesses where we do their online stores for all their apparel, promotional items, and we work with them on events that they go to, trade shows, set up, that kind of stuff.
Nice.
So basically, we tell people anything that you can put your logo on, we can do it.
Like right here, right?
Like right there.
My water bottle.
That's right.
It's awesome. Yeah, and we appreciate the partnership and all the stuff that we've got our logo on, thanks to you.
100%.
Take us back now, going through this sort of origin story of, and I know a little bit of it just from our time together, but take us back to your early days of working in Utah to coming to the great state of Wisconsin and where you are now because of that.
Yeah, so 2005, I got into this world of branding and customization. I worked for a company there for about 7.5 years. I was their vice president of sales. And basically, it was really fun. We grew the company really well from 2005 to 2012 or through 2012 to 2013. But at the time, there was a lot of things that I wanted to do that I had visions of and goals for my personal life. And unfortunately, in that situation, I wasn't going to achieve those goals. And I knew that, and quite honestly, they knew that as well. And basically, I picked up my family, and we moved 1,500 miles to get out of my non-compete.
Nice.
And in 2014, I started NVR printing. And so NVR printing was formed, and we got
What is
that
NVR?
NVR, so NVR is basically my initials, Nick Vance, and then R is my wife's first name, Rebecca.
Nice.
So it's sandwich them together. So NVR, yeah. But so we started NVR printing, and then a few years into that, I realized doing definitely apparel and things like that, I just didn't like branding. And NVR branding, we were growing. We had an office in Green Bay. We had about a 2,500 square foot office in Green Bay. We were starting to buy machines, and you remember those days.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It was fun. It was definitely exciting. It got to the point we had 4 employees, and yeah.
Almost starting out of your garage, right?
Yeah. To be honest, I initially was in a room in my house. That's exactly where I was working out of, and so the garage is just yeah. So
home-based business.
It was definitely
right?
home-based. Yeah, it was a home-based business.
And weren't you selling life insurance too at the time?
I was. Yeah, that's what I used to fund NVR branding.
That's awesome.
To get to that point to buy some of the machines and to get going.
Yeah.
And I did that from 2013 to 2014, 2015, and then NVR branding started taking off, and that became full-time.
And then I remember you going through the genesis. Explain to me your aha moment where you're like, okay, how do I take NVR branding to the next level? Because I remember you telling me about how you were used to managing a ton of people at your place in Utah.
Yeah.
And how went back to being a solopreneur for a bit. What was the genesis of, okay, I need to expand rapidly, and then where does that leave you into kind of the early days of being here?
It really got to a point where I was just like, all right, I'm either selling insurance or I'm going all in. That was really the decision point where I was like, okay, what am I doing? Am I going to go out and sell insurance, or am I going to go and actually do this thing the right way? I think I've told you this. When I was in Utah at that one company, we did 2.7 million our first year, and then my last year we did 12.6.
Wow.
And so I know how to take a business from 2.7 to close to 13 million, because that's what I did as an executive there. I was responsible for the sales, a lot of the marketing even. So I have a very keen sense on how to do that because I did it. but I've never taken a business from 0 and taken it to 2 million. And that's quite honestly very difficult. There's a ton of risk, and there's a lot of nights that you just don't sleep, and it's hard. Even my wife has a hard time grasping it, because it's like my brain never is off. It doesn't turn off ever. I'll be up in the middle of the night with ideas and things like that, where I'm just like, oh, we got to do this, and we need to do this, and I need this machine now. And
I suppose it's a lot easier when you have 20, 30 people to help get the job done than you yourself and I.
for sure. And when you're not paying the bill, it's a lot easier too. It's a lot easier to make financial decisions when it's not your money.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where in Utah, I definitely had confidence. I knew it was like, all right, that's what we should do. And I had these ideas, and I understand even now from the perspective that I have now, a lot of my ideas, when I would take it to the owner, he was like, we're not going to do that. I'm not going to spend my money on that. And I never necessarily complained or anything like that, but I was like, man, I think if you did, this would be really successful.
Yeah.
And there are decisions that he did make, then I was like, I don't think that's the best decision. But I also
you were an employee and
I was
not
an employee. Yeah.
the owner.
But yeah, it was that, I guess the long answer as far as that aha moment, it really was just when I started realizing I need people. And either I'm going to just sell insurance and then this is just going to be a side little hustle thing, or I need to invest in people and I need to take the
Would you say that was the point where you
risk.
were deciding like what to give up?
Yeah, there's a lot to give up. And there's a lot to sacrifice, 100%. And everything comes at a cost. That was one of those. I was back in 2000, and it was about 2017, 2018 is when I was like, all right, we're going all in. We're gonna do this. And even when I went all in, I wasn't. Now that I look back at it, I wasn't all in. I was still dipping my toe a little bit here or there, just for a little bit of that security,
Safety net.
Yeah. And that was all the way through 2020. 2020 is when my lawyer reached out to me and told me about a company that was a competitor of mine that was for sale.
Had you been looking for a while to acquire as a means of growth?
I'd never been looking. I was just looking at growing organically, and never even crossed my mind to buy an existing company. But he brought it to my attention.
That's not common for lawyers to necessarily do, right? Bring deals to their clients, is it? Do you think it just happened because you had been talking about it?
No, I don't know. I guess I like to think that I would have a lawyer that would be in my corner
Right.
and would be like, hey, man, just this, not like they're not working for me and actively,
Sure.
but if it crosses their desk, and that's what happened, is it crossed his desk, and when he looked at it, he was like, whoa, hang on, let me...
So in other words, have a good relationship with your business lawyers.
Have a good relationship. For me, it is about having a really good team involved. Like for me, I need to have a good lawyer that I can trust. That's why like there's a very close and small circle that I have for my business. And financial advisor, lawyer about my taxes, I'm not going to do that kind of stuff. I need a team.
So much you want to DIY. Right?
Yeah. I try and do all that stuff myself. It's going to cost me a lot of money and mistakes and time.
So you got this deal on your desk and you're going, okay, now I have another decision to make because this is financially quite a big commitment.
Right.
Walk me through that.
So 2020, it was like in March is when it crossed my desk.
Oh, COVID. Congratulations.
Yeah,
I'm going to buy a business.
COVID was happening and they started shutting everyone down. And for me, I was like, this is my business. I don't know. I just keep working. I kept doing my thing. But I started looking into the financials really closely and trying to add everything up. And then COVID started getting worse in the summer months. And so a deal came very close to falling through. And I was able to leverage COVID a little bit as far as, look, I'm not sure. I'm probably going to just walk away from the deal right now. And then they came back.
Because sales were maybe starting to be a little lower, projected to be lower.
Right. And honestly, at the time, the government was talking about extending all these shutdowns and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I'm not about to go into a massive debt only to buy a company and find out that I can't even go to it. And employees can't even come into work. What am I?
How's stuff going to get embroidered?
Yeah, and are other businesses even buying?
Right.
Are they even gonna? Because we work very closely with businesses, and so if they're shut down, they're not buying. They're not going to events. They're not buying apparel. They're not getting promotional items, and so there's a lot for me that I'm not sure this is the right time. But I started seeing they came back and they talked to my lawyer and legal team, and then in turn talked to me, and we started getting together and discussing other potentials and ways we could potentially get the job done for buying the business. And long story short, we found a way to make it happen.
And that was like right under the gun too, right? Because the
Yeah.
SBA had a great deal going of loan forgiveness. So do I let that expire and maybe not dive into a very expensive acquisition that maybe can't work?
Right.
Or do I jump in, get the extra SBA support, and start running it?
Right. Yeah, because the SBA, they had it's not forgiveness, but it was like, hey, you don't have to make payments for a certain period of time. And it was big enough for me. I was like, that's a good incentive.
Right.
But we've got to meet it. And that incentive ended on like the 27th of September.
And didn't your deal get done like literally that weekend?
That day,
Yeah.
They got the people in California to come into work on Saturday to get the paperwork signed, and then I came out here and signed the paperwork with the former owner on that day and got the
keys to the building.
Got the keys and showed up the next Monday. So
Nice.
Yeah, it was definitely like under the gun on the time frame.
So now, from where your business is today, from that initial acquisition almost 3 years ago now, is it where you envisioned it? Is it differ from where you envisioned it being? Kind of speak to that.
It's hard because sometimes I'm like, what did I envision? You have a vision. You want to see how you want to hope that you're going to be really successful. Things are going to take off. Things are going to go well. We're sitting in a room right here that didn't exist even a year ago.
Yeah, this was gravel.
And there's an abandoned house here that
Right.
this new addition is on.
Yeah,
that's fun to see. We've added an extra 5,000 square feet to the 3,000 that we already had. So that's cool. That's fun. We've got new machinery and we've definitely grown that way. There's always hiccups and there's bumps along the way. And you know how it is with running a business. Sometimes you forget to pause and reflect and see how far we've come. Let's appreciate it, because it's one of those like always what's next. We've got to, and that's how my brain is.
Yeah.
So I don't pause and reflect as much as maybe I should.
How has the community responded to you, would you say?
I think the community has been great. We're extending as well our reach. When the vision and the company before I bought Fox Cities Embroidery was very much focused on schools and sports teams and things like that, which is great. We have no qualms there. That's been a world that I've been able to really get involved in and really enjoy and learn a lot more about. My expertise has always been business to business. That's where I've always, in Utah, at that company, that was our growth, our branding. And so my focus was always businesses. So coming here and seeing the relationships with schools and the local sports teams and things like that was really fun for me to see and get involved in, because it's very different than working with just businesses.
Sure.
And my goal has been to extend that reach out, because I believe it's a very underserved community. There's a lot of competition out there and there's a lot of copycats out there, but it's all this world of branding and customization is, I've always considered it almost like an old boys club. And it's like one of those, this is the way we've done it forever. This is how it's going to be.
Sure.
And so we're not changing that. And here I am, I'm like, oh, hang on a second. Maybe we should change it. And that's the very reason we should be changing things. We should coming up with different philosophies and ideas and concepts. And
you really tapped into that website space, correct? And
yeah.
That was kind of a newer...
The stores.
Stores.
Yeah, I really believe in the online stores and automating those stores and making it super convenient for the schools and for the sports teams, for the parents to be able to go in and order their spirit wear for their kids and for themselves, to really automate that and to make it fun.
Used to the Amazon click to cart and 21st century buying.
Yeah. And so that's my very first hire, even before MVR branding and MVR printing, was my IT guy. He was my very first hire because I've always believed in the importance of technology. I think technology is a critical component for our growth. It's vital. And so I'm always looking at what's happening in the tech space that Fox Cities Embroidery or MVR branding can adopt and implement and improve.
I remember you saying you're more of a tech company than
Yeah.
an apparel company.
Yeah. We're a tech company that just happens to produce customized apparel.
Nick, what does the horizon look like for you? What things do you envision next for your business?
You have big dreams. You always do. And I think you should dream big. I try and manage those expectations with reality. I'm not trying to... You always overestimate what you can do in a year and underestimate what you can do in a week, kind of thing. And so my goal as a company, I definitely want to be in a much bigger space. I've actually already started looking. I try and behave as if we're where I want to be. And that's why I've already started looking at places and to have just a much bigger space. I have a place for the employees where we have a nice atmosphere. I think it is absolutely vital. When I bought the company, we were in that small, it was 3,000 square feet, but it was still a condensed small space. It wasn't that conducive to strong culture. And that's one of the biggest reasons why we expanded. And we're here is to help create that culture and create that environment. So that's where I want for the team and things like that. So having that more space helps create that clean area and things like that.
And it's here. Would you give to young aspiring entrepreneurs out there looking to maybe start a business or take their fledgling NVR?
Honestly, so this is funny and you might want to edit it out. What's the number one thing that I should do to grow my business? Or I'm thinking about starting a business. What do you recommend for me? My recommendation is don't. That's honestly what
We're going to edit that out. I'm just kidding.
I say don't do it. And the reason,
especially if you don't have a garage.
Yeah, especially if you don't have a garage. But I say that because if me saying don't is enough reason and strong enough to have someone stop with their vision and their dream, they were going to fail anyway. You're going to have to, like,
it's really insightful if you think about that. Sit and noodle on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how it is to a degree, how like it is very difficult and it is very like you spend nights not sleeping and anxiety and it's for real. And if you're going into it because you think this is a great way I can make money, you've already failed. If you're doing it for money, you're doing it for the wrong reason already. I don't care what it is. If the money is the reason, it could be the most inspirational vision that you have, but if it's the money that you think is...
If money is the why.
If the money is the why, you've already failed.
Agreed.
And that's why I tell people don't do it. Usually I get a laugh or something, but I truly believe if me saying don't do it is strong enough for you to be like, oh, yeah, I probably shouldn't do it, then I just saved you a lot of time and money. And you can thank me later because
Right.
You were going to fail. And you just have to have this, you got to make sure like your commitment is going to, it's going to pull you through. Your motivation, motivation is bunk. I don't believe in motivation. I think motivation is pointless. You have to have that pull where that vision and that dream is going to pull you through, because if you have to push it, that's motivation, is pushing. And you push through and you wake up, you're like, I'm going to work out every day. And pretty soon that vision dies. Where it rolls around, it's like the parking lots of the gyms are empty again. It's that push has ended. And so that whatever the vision is, it needs to pull you through. And you have to love it, and you have to have you cannot quit.
That's great.
Anyway.
As my dad always says, you just gotta last.
Yeah.
You just
gotta last.
I love that.
Nick,
I really appreciate you coming on our podcast today. This was fabulous, and
yeah,
I look forward to seeing your success and growth here in the future. And hopefully we can have you on again in a couple years, months, however your success journey happens here, and get you back on. So
awesome.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
And thank you all for tuning in today, and have a great rest of your day.